Last season, I made a spreadsheet that listed out step by step the fastest way to get from level 1 to 100. Tens of thousands of people ended up using it. I had to make multiple copies of the spreadsheets, encourage people to download it for themselves, and I got so much great feedback that I incorporated into many improvements to the spreadsheet for this season. I haven't shared it yet. This is the first reveal of the spreadsheet for the newest season. It's got everything. Not only does it have the fastest route, but it has all the best affixes to look out for, an entire Paragon progression board so that you know exactly where to put your Paragon points in at each level, a ton of resources, leveling skills, exactly what you need to do to respec, and more, such as different builds, the best codec aspects. But before we get into it, today's video was sponsored by the newest ARPG, Dungeon Hunter 6. It's the latest installment in the Dungeon Hunter franchise. I remember really liking Dungeon Hunter 4, and the anticipation for 6 seems well worth it. For those that don't know, Dungeon Hunter 6 is like Diablo, but for your phone. You guys do have phones, right? The best part? It's 100% free to play. Scan the QR code or use the link below to download and start blasting. One of the coolest parts from playing has the ability to summon bosses that you've defeated in battle to fight for you. Imagine riding around on Uber Duriel to trample your foes. It's really cool and not something I've ever seen before done in an ARPG. There's a variety of skill tree options to choose from, and it even comes with a built-in trading auction house. Please, Diablo, take notes. So if you want a fun mobile ARPG to pass the time, scan the QR code or use the link below and you'll get a free starter pack worth $50. That should set you up pretty nicely. Oh, and anyone that plays can spin for a chance to win some crazy stuff, like an iPhone, PS5, Apple Watch, and more on October 15th. Now, back to the video. All right, we're going to start with the route. Right when you start the season, you're going to make your seasonal character, start the quest line, which you'll be able to start right in Kyovashad, and then waypoint directly to Karagar, where you're going to take this route and farm world events, overworld events, until you get to Domhain tunnels, where you're going to level until 15. The benefit of doing these overworld events is that they do not scale with player count. There will be a bunch of players all starting at the same time that are going to be able to do these events with you. You'll get some item drops. It will be very easy to kill them, and you'll get a bunch of really easy early levels. We're going to be doing all of this also on tier 2. So you'll want to be playing on tier 2 difficulty because this season you start with a full 10 skill points. And I'm going to show you where to put those skill points in a bit. You're going to farm the tunnels until level 15, and then you're going to waypoint to Kyovashad or Menasted to do your true potential questline or your class specialization. If you're playing a class that doesn't get the specialization until 25, you'll wait till then. After that, you're going to run your Jalal's Vigil aspect dungeon, where you're going to get Twisting Blades. So this is for all the rogues out there. If you're playing another class, this is when you're going to want to target that really important build defining aspect that you can get from the codex. So for rogues, we're going to beeline right to Jalal's Vigil once we are done with our class specialization. From then on, we can either complete the seasonal quest line and do blood harvests for blood packs, or farm the Domhain tunnels again until level 42. This is what we're doing. You're going to farm the tunnels. It's the best way to get experience. This is how you're going to get into the end game and get those sacred and ancestral weapons as fast as possible by resetting Domhain tunnels and leveling up as fast as you can. Then, once you're level 42, you can get any other desired codex aspects. So here are my recommendations for rogues. These are the aspects that you're going to want to target here between level 42 and 45, and then you'll be ready for the Cathedral of Light. The Cathedral of Light unlocks World Tier 3, in which, when you go, you're going to want to focus on getting your sacred weapons. This is going to be the same for World Tier 3 as it is for World Tier 4. Right when you enter a new World Tier, you want those newest weapons because they're going to have the highest item power, and they're going to help you defeat the enemies in that area to get the most XP as possible. The best way to do this, the PvP zone or overworld areas. If those aren't working, you're feeling a little too weak, you could always try to hit up a world boss, leech a kill from a world boss and get a bunch of legendaries that way. But most often you will be able to just farm the overworld to get those sacred weapons. So that's highly what I recommend. PvP zone is what we're going to be targeting. We'll be running this whole route on stream this weekend and practicing it ahead of the reset. So if you want tips, if you want to see what we're up to, then you're going to go right back to the domain tunnels until level 55. At which, once you're level 55, you're going to be a pretty even to the monster levels of World Tier 3. So you could go around and do something like Helltide, for instance, get some materials, get some elixirs, and also Whispers. Whispers are going to be a great source of gold, we know, and potentially XP this season. So there's going to be those easy Whisper quests that you can just knock out really quick, like go and kill the PvP boss or go run an easy dungeon, you know? Get those whispers, get those easy whisper quests out of the way, collect your XP, collect your gold, because we're not going to have as many items dropping now in World Tier 3 and World Tier 4 where normally we would make all of our gold. So we're going to focus on whispers just to get a nice reserve of gold. Then back to the domain tunnels until level 65, which we're going to then complete the Fallen Temple quest. Then we're going to unlock World Tier 4. We do the same thing again where we farm that overworld to get our ancestral weapons. Those are going to be the most important items to focus on when you're going from one world tier to the next, and then back to tunnels until around level 75. Now at this point, this is when it kind of branches off and you can do what you like. At level 75, you're going to be equivalent monster level to everything else in World Tier 5 zones. So you could either run nightmare dungeons here, or you could go back to the domain tunnels. If your goal is only to reach level 100, I believe that just running the tunnels is going to be the best experience. What you will miss is glyph XP. So I think for anyone else, if you're not racing to 100, the best thing you could do is run Nightmare Dungeons. Nightmare Dungeons, again, are going to provide you the best combination of glyph XP, which is very important for scaling your builds, items, and experience. All three of those in one by doing Nightmare Dungeon. Where you'll be lacking in at the end of your quest level 100, if you're only running Nightmare Dungeons, is materials for Uber Duriel, for instance. So you're level 100, you win. Now it's time to farm Uber Duriel. I recommend, if you want to have some of these mats stored up, try to add in some diversity to your end game farming rather than just doing dungeons. Try a world boss, go do some Helltides, do some Whispers. They're all going to be great resources, not just for the materials to fight the Uber bosses to get Uber uniques, but also resources for eventually crafting your gear. So those are my recommendations. Some other things that we want to focus on, some other tips for season 2 are going to be to look for your blood packs. So the season of blood has all these great vampiric powers. These are the powers that I want to focus on for Rogue. So they're all in the sheet. Your blood packs are going to spawn on your chest armor, pants, gloves, boots, and helms. You're going to want to salvage early and sell late. This was always the strategy, but Whispers are going to be a great source of gold. So now you may just want to be targeting Whispers to get, your gold storage built up. It remains to be seen exactly how much we're going to get from that. But the strategy remains the same. Salvage early, get those mats up, sell late. That's when you're going to get the most gold. Focus on upgrading weapons at new world tiers. So we said that before. PvP zones are world bosses. Overworld farming is great for your weapons. That's the number one priority for World Tier 3 and World Tier 4. Next, you're going to want to make sure you plan all of your codex aspects. So I've planned out all the codex aspects for you in this spreadsheet for your rogue. But if you're playing another class, make sure you do the same for that respective classes. Then you're going to want to make sure, again, this is just a reminder, complete all of your renown ahead of the season. Paragon board, I'm going to go through my Paragon board progression that I recommend fellow rogues use. Which is going to be a leveling progression. So you'll see exactly where to put in what progression points, what Paragon points each level. World bosses, just in the back of your head, is a good idea to get some quick legendaries when you start a new world tier. Also, the Helltide events, when you're low on Forgotten Souls, make sure you do those. And then the seasonal quest and Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest is going to be available right at the start. It works sort of like Helltide, and you're going to be able to get all of the materials that you need for these vampiric powers. And just a reminder, these are some of the vampiric powers that I've isolated that I really like for Rogue, but I also think since everyone uses the same Vampiric powers, these are going to be really important powers to focus on for any class. From the top, damage over time, we're going to be focusing on poison. We're going to be running the Immortal Rogue spec, which I've updated for Season 2. All of the links are going to be in the resources tab. This is increased, damage over time. Then we have Prey on the Weak, vulnerable damage, which is great since we've lost a lot of ability to stack vulnerable. Moonrise, which is basically an attack speed bonus. I'm not as concerned with the basic skill damage, but the attack speed bonus sort of works like an Ashira's Dagger, where you can really, stack your attack speed pretty nicely. So up to 20%. A Cursed Touch. This is a way to inflict your vampiric curse, which helps some other of these vampiric powers activate. Undying. Now, I have a theory this season that this skill, based on how it really activates, could be pretty broken. So I'm actually hoping to really not have to use Siphoning Strike. If you play a rogue, you know what that skill is. But I think for a lot of classes, this is going to have some insane sustain capabilities. So Undying just for sustain, I really, really like, and it's super cheap in terms of blood pack cost. Anticipation, because we're going to be running ultimate skills. We're going to be using Anticipation for our build. And then these two at the bottom actually seem like potential barber aspects, putting it lightly. I'm not sure. We really have to test them, but these are the ability for a class to get a sort of AoE burst damage. Infection and Hemomancy are both options. I need to test them really in the new season to know for sure. But these are the vampiric powers that I'm liking right now. So again, you're going to want to make sure you check your armor to get them. Now, leveling. Here is the entire leveling spec from 1 to 58 basically for your rogue. I have all the skills listed here, and also visually you can see them in these images. So we're going to be starting out basically as a shadow build until we get to our 36th skill point, and then we're going to respec to poison, and we're running Immortal Poison from here on out. The reason is the Shadow Imbue at low levels is just such great AoE damage that there really isn't any other way to get on a rogue. So you're going to want to run Shadow Imbuement until at 36, and then we're going to respec to poison. Here is our entire poison respec. Visually, you can see it here, as well as what we're going to be targeting for gear as codex aspects. So this is going to be the really easy aspects that you can get straight from doing dungeons. Then these are our ideal aspects. This is what we're going to try to focus on for when we go to our Immortal Rogue. And then we also have Uber Boss aspects. So when we're doing Uber Duriel, Uber Lilith, these are going to be the aspects and legendaries and uniques that we focus on. So if you don't want to use the picture, I have the entire respec listed out here. You can see I have it hidden, but this is exactly what your respec is going to look like. Respecing is so cheap at this level. Do not worry about the cost. If you want to just go straight into poison, you can run this tab here, and you can just start at poison. You don't have to worry about it, but I really recommend if you want to get off to a fast start, starting shadow and then doing poison. Here is what it looks like if you just wanted to do poison right from the start. If you just hit this plus sign here, you'll be able to see 1 to 36. And then this is where the rest of your skill points are going to go in. And here is the visual representation of what it looks like. I know this is helpful for people rather than just seeing skills listed on the spreadsheet. So best affixes now. Oh, this was really fun to put together. So as we know, as I've explained, damage over time builds have different damage calculation than regular damage builds. So I have the best affixes for each item based on whether you're doing damage over time. So for rogues, that would be poison damage or regular damage. And I've listed out more than 4, so you don't have to worry about just getting, 4 out of 4. These are listed in order of importance. The best affixes that you can get for each item. So helms, we have, skills to poison imbue, cooldown, max life, armor. Armor is going to be a little bit less important of a priority this season. So you'll notice I dropped armor in a lot of places to a lower priority. And that's because we can have item power 950 armor now, which means our armor base is going to be so much higher than it was in previous seasons, and it only works for physical damage now. Resistance are going to be important, so actually we have elemental resistance on our boots. Great spot to get elemental resistance if you can, and some other places to get resistances, for instance. Here are all of the best aspects. I'm not going to go through every single one, but just so you can get a sense for what is all in this spreadsheet, you can always refer to this tab when you're finding gear to see, do I have something good or not? And last but not least, this was one of the most highly requested items that I got was, how do I level my Paragon board and what does it look like? I spent so much time theory crafting this and what would be not only the best end game Paragon board for a rogue, but also how best to optimize our pathing so that we don't have to keep redoing, respecking, and changing around our Paragon board. Because once we get to those higher levels, it does actually get quite expensive. So for this, you are barely not going to have to change anything. And if you don't want to use the spreadsheet, I have a link to the planner here where you can actually just go in and see for yourself. If you just go to the Paragon here, you can see from level 50 to level 60, what changes, from level 60 to level 70, what changes. And you can just go through and click them here. But I also have it in the spreadsheet itself, but I added a little bit to the spreadsheet that I couldn't do on the website. So here you'll see when you go from the tabs at the bottom from level 50 to level 60, I've put a little highlight on exactly everything that changes. So you make sure you're not missing a single Paragon point. So when you're going from level 50 to level 60, you can see exactly what the path is you're going to take from level 60 to level 70. Just highlighted what's new, what you're going to want to focus on. Same thing from 70 to 80. It's all highlighted for you. So easy access, easy reference. 80 to 90 and 90 to 100. Now, I love this Paragon board for so many reasons. I'll do a whole video on just the Immortal Rogue once we have it set up in the new season. But this is what our endgame Paragon board is going to look like. 7 boards, Eldritch Bounty with the legendary node. We've added in and changed the amount of vulnerable damage since it's not good anymore, and added in all of those really important damage modifiers. And this build is going to be, I estimate, almost twice as strong as it was in the previous season, which is insane to think about. I'm really excited at the prospects of this build for the new season, especially for its prowess in farming Ubers specifically. So once we get level 100, I'm going to be farming with my team Uber Duriel, and we're going to be trying to find the first Uber uniques on the seasonal realm. So if that's something that excites you, make sure you come by. We've got an absolutely legendary team of speedrunners. The legendary Barb Rob has joined the team, Gymnasium and Kano, the Diablo 2 speedrun master, and then I'm the scrub. But I'm really excited for our team, our potential, and everything that's coming in season 2. I hope you are too. If you like the video, let me know, and make sure you're subscribed if you want to get those build guides updated for season 2 once we hit level 100. I expect it'll take about a day with this route that we've determined. So thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.